Brothers enough to make a hard rock smile.
News Channel 2 and the Arena Players presentation of Without a Doubt is brought to you by the Greater Baltimore McDonald's Restaurants, Catholic Schools, a valuable education, and education in values. Super Fresh, doing more for you.
Hello? Margaret? What's wrong? What? Mr. Vaughn's been what? When? Oh, Margaret, I'm sorry. Are you all right? Well, where are you? What hospital? Is Mr. Vaughn in the same hospital? I'll be right there.
Right this way, number 7.
Yeah, this way. Okay, thank you. Margaret, are you all right?
Yes.
How's how's Arthur?
He's dead. I need to ask you a question.
What? Mr. Vaughn is dead.
As a doornail,
What the hell is wrong with you? The man you just married has been shot to death and you're as nonchalant as hell.
I believe she's in shock, Mr. Braxton. Miss Vaughn is suffering from a classic case of shock.
Oh, Margaret, I'm sorry.
oh, you don't have a damn thing to be sorry about. Arthur's dead, my honeymoon's ruined. Oh, my makeup's a mess. I'm going to go freshen up.
Doctor, is she going to be okay?
She'll be okay. She's in denial.
Denial? She just said Mr. Vaughn is dead.
Yes, but the nonchalant way she's acting is a form of denial.
Oh, well, what do you prescribe, Doctor?
I suggest she spend a lot of time with family and friends.
Well, Doctor, as far as I know, she doesn't have any.
No what? No family? Friends?
Either.
Oh, I see. So she's not close to her in-laws?
No.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, who are you?
I'm her lawyer.
Well, it seems you're the only person she can turn to. She did call you. She obviously trusts you. I suggest you take her home.
And what else should I do?
Just be there for her.
I'll try.
I talked to her regular physician, Dr. Hendrickson. She saw no reason to keep her, so I released her. She's free to go.
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
Where's the doctor?
He left, but he said you're free to go.
He said I was in shock, right?
Yes, but he said it wouldn't last long.
You never let me ask my question.
Well, what is it?
Now that Arthur's dead, is all of his money mine? And when can I start spending it?
You'll have to wait until the will is ready.
And when will that be?
I don't know. I have to go back to the office and check.
We'll do that tonight. I want my money. I need to get all of the money I can. I want to liquidate all of the joint accounts Arthur set up for us. Then I want you to sell all of Arthur's stock tomorrow. I want you to put the house up for sale.
Wait, Margaret.
If I'm going too fast for you, Counselor, get a pen and write it down.
You can liquidate the joint accounts, but that's all you can do.
Listen, Counselor, and listen real good. I know for a fact I can sell the house and the stock. They're all in my name. Arthur gave them to me as a wedding present. Now, I know exactly what I can and cannot do. I didn't ask you for your advice. I asked you to carry out my wishes. In fact, no, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. You are my lawyer, and you will do what I say. Now, get a pen and paper and write it down. I'm only saying this one more time.
Listen, Margaret, you don't know what you're saying. You're in shock.
Shock, please. I just wanted the doctor to believe that and put it in his medical report. That way, he can be called to testify for me at my trial. And that's the second time you grab me, do it again, and you'll wind up being admitted to this hospital.
Trial? Grabbing you? Your shock must be more serious than I thought.
Damn, I'm good. You really believe I'm in shock? Listen, counselor, let me make this clear. I killed him for the money. Plain and simple. I needed a doctor to say I was in shock, and I needed the best litigator in town, and you're it.
Wait, let me get this straight. You just killed my mentor, a man who I respected so much I couldn't even call him by his first name, and you expect me to represent you?
The only reason you couldn't call him by his first name is because you two were never close. I had to beg Arthur to make you his best man. He wanted Jack Jordan. I wanted you. I needed you. I planned this too meticulously to have your self-righteousness mess it up. Now, legally, you are my lawyer, and you will do what I say.
You can't force me to represent you. Tomorrow you'll have my letter of resignation.
I won't accept it.
You don't have to. It'll be legal nonetheless.
You are Arthur's lawyer. You don't have to represent me, but you do have to deal with me. I'm his heir apparent.
Apparently not. Mr. Vaughn has 3 daughters.
Guess who's the sole beneficiary?
Doesn't mean squat. They'll challenge it. I'll advise them.
Conflict of interest, counselor. Being Arthur's lawyer, you have to uphold his wishes. And advising anyone, including me, against those wishes would be a conflict of interest.
Doesn't matter. I'm sure someone will advise them to do so.
Why are you fighting me, counselor? We could make each other very happy and very rich.
Save it. Your feminine wiles might have worked on Mr. Vaughn, but they won't work on me.
Oh, they work on you. They work on every man within 10 feet of me.
I'm not every man.
Yes, you are, counselor. You'd like to believe you're not, but you are. You're a dime a dozen.
If I'm a dime a dozen, why do you want me to be your lawyer?
Oh, I want you for more than that, counselor. But as a man, you're a dime a dozen. As a lawyer, you're the cream of the crop. When you were practicing criminal law, you were the best in the city, and you're still the best. Now, does that make you happy?
No. I'll be happy when I resign tomorrow.
You still can't reveal anything I've told you, and until tomorrow, you are my lawyer, and you will represent me to the fullest extent of the law. Is that clear? I said, is that clear, counselor?
Yes, ma'am.
When the police get here...
Wait a minute. You called the police?
Oh, hell no, but it's routine for the police to question the only witness to a double homicide.
Double?
Well, we were in Arthur's limo. I had to ice the chauffeur. I couldn't leave any witnesses.
You killed the chauffeur? Listen, if you want me to be your lawyer, you're going to have to tell me everything.
Okay. It was a carjacking. We stopped at a light. The guy told the chauffeur to get out, and then he shot him. Then he got in the driver's seat, he turned around, and he shot Arthur. Then he pointed the gun at me. I looked down the barrel of the gun, and I just couldn't let him shoot me. So I grabbed the gun from him. He jumped out and ran. I picked up the car phone, called 911. On the way here, I had ventilated, and they admitted me.
Wait, I thought you said that you killed him.
I did. That's the statement I'm giving the police.
I need to know the true story.
No, you don't. As of tomorrow, you are no longer my lawyer. And even though what I tell you cannot be told to anyone else, I will tell you what you need to know on a need-to-know basis. And right now, you don't need to know. Now what am I going to do?
Excuse me, I'm Sergeant Shaughnessy. This is Detective Chaplin. We'd like to ask you a few questions.
I told you, counselor,
Told you what, may I ask?
that the police would be here to ask questions so you can catch that slime that shot my husband.
Well, that's exactly right, ma'am. Can you explain to us the events surrounding your husband's death?
It was a carjacking. We stopped at a light. The guy told the chauffeur to get out, and then he shot him. Then he got in the driver's seat. He turned around and shot Arthur. Then he pointed the gun at me. I looked down the barrel of the gun, and I just couldn't let him shoot me. So I grabbed the gun from him, and he jumped out and ran. I picked up the car phone and called 911.
I can't believe this. That's what she told me verbatim.
Was there a lone gunman?
Yes.
Can you describe him?
I don't know. It all happened so fast.
Can you tell us anything?
He was white, short, slim. That's all I can remember.
Oh, that's just great. There are only about 1 million short, slim white guys in this city.
I'm sorry, that's all I can remember right now.
Oh, you have to do better than that, Mrs.
Wait a
Vaughn.
minute, officers. Now, Margaret's been diagnosed with shock. It's not helpful for her to be interrogated. Now, she's told you all she knows for now. Maybe later more details will come to her. I mean, my God, the woman was just married 4 hours ago and her husband's been murdered. Don't you have any compassion?
Who are you?
I'm Daniel Braxton, Mrs. Vaughn's attorney.
Your husband was just murdered and you called your lawyer?
Oh, he's more than my lawyer. He's a friend of the family. He was Arthur's best man.
All right, that's enough. She's already told you everything she knows. The doctor's released her and I'm taking her home. And officers, don't even think about questioning my client without my presence. Good day.
Mr. Braxton, in order for us to expedite matters in this homicide, we need to ascertain certain facts and...
Good day, officers.
What the hell was that about?
He was right. This was not the time to question her.
This is the right time. These murders just happened, and the faster we get the facts, the faster we can solve this crime.
You see, that's why I'm in charge. It was obvious that she was not going to answer any more questions today. Her lawyer saw to that. You were just asking questions that were not going to be answered. You were alienating her and making her feel like she was being interrogated.
Now, that's the way you operate. That's not the way I operate.
The way you operate is the way I operate. You got that?
Yeah, we'll see about that.
What's the matter, Counselor? You haven't said one word to me since my meeting.
What in the hell gives you the right to be calling meetings at this law firm?
Being the widow of the senior partner of this firm gives me the right.
Still, I'm surprised the partners even listen to you.
Oh, they weren't willing to listen at first. Of course, they offered their condolences. But then when I told them I planned on making a significant financial contribution to the firm, oh, they listened right up.
That still gives you no right to suggest that I be taken off a very important case in order to represent you.
You're just mad that someone else is going to steal your thunder.
You're damn right I am. The status quo case will mean hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit for this law firm. I've worked day and night pulling this deal together. Now because of you, all my work is for naught.
Oh, not for naught, Counselor. I'm sure you have thousands of billable hours for your client. How much do you make an hour anyway? $60? $75? Is it topping 100 yet? Don't worry, I'll find out when I receive my bill. I expect to receive the same amount of commitment you give your other clients. Is that understood?
I'm a professional, Miss Vaughn. You'll receive nothing less than my best.
Please call me Margaret.
Fine. Margaret, now that you have me, what do you want me to do?
Well, first, you could
Let
start
me rephrase that. How do you want me to proceed with your case?
You're no damn fun, Counselor. But we really can't form a proper defense until I've been charged now, can we?
No, we can't. There's the door. Use it.
Fine. I'll leave so you can start thinking up strategies for my defense.
Wait a minute, Margaret.
I knew you didn't want me to leave. You like this.
Like what?
This battle of the wills, battle of the intellect, tug of war, sexual tension you could cut with a knife.
I don't feel any sexual tension.
Really? How about now?
Not one iota.
You're lying, Counselor. Your wife is out of town and you love sparring with me. It makes you feel wanted, desired, like a man.
How'd you know my wife was out of town?
Very simple, Counselor. I have connections like you've never seen.
Mrs. Vaughn, would you like a cup of coffee?
No. I want to get this over with. Are you going to read me my rights?
What for? You're not under arrest. You're just here to answer a few questions so that we can proceed with the investigation.
Oh, really? Do the police always come and get people in the middle of dinner to ask a few questions?
When we need vital information for an investigation, we do.
Really? May I call my lawyer?
For what? We're not interrogating you. Is there some reason you feel you need your lawyer present just to answer a few questions?
Not particularly. I can handle you cops.
We never got around to any pertinent questions, like how the chauffeur got shot.
The carjacker made him get out of the car and then he shot him.
Why didn't he make you and your husband get out?
Oh, now I'm supposed to know the motives of a violent criminal.
I just find it peculiar, that's all. So, after he shot the chauffeur, what did he do?
He got in the driver's seat, he turned around and shot Arthur.
And you were sitting next to Arthur?
Yes.
You see, that's where I have a problem. You say that you wrestled the gun from the carjacker, but we know that from the passenger seat to the driver's seat is 4 feet. And you could not have leaped 4 feet, wrestled a gun from a carjacker without getting shot. How do you answer that, Mrs. Vaughn?
Weirder things have happened.
Yes, you're right. Anything is possible. But we have the gun. You gave it to us at the crime scene.
That doesn't mean that I fired it.
You're right. But I bet since you had that huge, expensive wedding, that your wedding ensemble consisted of gloves to go with your dress. But when the police arrived at the scene, your hands were bare.
You're right, Detective, but I don't know where I put them. I may have left them at the reception.
Thank you, Mrs. Vaughn. We'll check that out.
Why the hell are you so worried about my gloves? I didn't have them on at the scene of the crime, and they won't provide you with any clues.
We just want to check all the bases.
Now, what's that supposed to mean?
It means that what you're saying ain't adding up, lady. How many women put their house up for sale the day after their husband is murdered?
I'm stumped. How many?
I'll let you know, 0.
Wow, I'm the first. Do I get a prize?
You are our prime suspect. You were at the crime scene, and your carjacking story don't wash, lady. Sooner or later, we'll get enough evidence against you to get you. So you might as well try and cop a deal now, because I can assure you, once we get enough evidence, there will be no deal making.
Well, thanks for making it obvious you're not looking for the real killer. Am I free to go?
Sure. As I said before, you're not under arrest.
Okay. Well, good day, officers. I guess you'll start looking for the real killer when your investigation on me falls flat on its face.
She's good. Real good.
And she's right. Unless we find those wedding gloves, all we have is circumstantial evidence, and our case will never fly in court.
And I want copies of the Murphy deposition faxed to my secretary and copies brought to me. Authorization code BREX 385479. Right.
Good to see you diligently at work, but you're working diligently on the wrong case.
You just get up in the morning and come straight here, don't you?
Yes, I do. Do you have a problem with that?
I do have other clients.
I thought my little meeting cleared that up. Your other cases were supposed to be allocated to other lawyers.
And they will be, as soon as I have something to represent you for. Until that time, I'll be working on the status corp case.
Trying to build them until the last minute. You and Arthur might not have been close, but you're really one and the same. At the end, I had him jumping through hoops to please me.
Now that you're finished strolling down memory lane, as I was saying, I do have other clients.
The hell with them. I need your services. I'm the wife of the senior partner of this firm, and I demand satisfaction. Now, what are you going to do to make sure I'm satisfied?
Nothing.
I knew we picked the right man.
We?
Yes, Arthur and I, when we picked you to be the best man.
Oh, yes, part of your grand plan.
Yes, and everything I planned is happening right on schedule.
Well, when you planned the wedding, it didn't include any of your family members. What about your family, Mrs. Vaughn? Margaret?
I don't have any.
What, no parents? Aunts, uncles, cousins, children?
No, nobody.
Margaret, are you all right?
Oh, you're too easy, counselor. You fall for the littlest emotional response and think you found a weak spot. I just looked like I was going to cry, and you stopped the interrogation, just like in the hospital, when you jumped to my defense.
So where is your family?
I have no idea. I was an orphan. I dropped out of high school, got my GED, went on to college, did some law school. Then I became a legal secretary. I worked at a few law firms, then I got the job here at Vaughn, Cheney & Jordan. Now, do you want to know my favorite color, too?
No, you've already told me more than I needed to know.
Well, I have something else to tell you.
What is it?
The police questioned me yesterday.
What? I specifically asked them not to do that.
And they really listen to lawyers.
Well, I assume you didn't tell them anything since you're sitting here, not in a jail cell.
I only need you for the big stuff, counselor. And handling 2 civil servants is not big stuff.
So what did they ask you?
What went down, the scenario, the motives of a violent criminal, why did this, why didn't that, the whole 9. They did everything but put me under a bright light and beat me with a rubber hose.
I'm glad to find no harm was done.
Don't worry, counselor. When you help me beat this rap, you'll be famous. If Vaughn, Cheney & Jordan don't make you a partner, I'm sure another top firm will. You could start your own firm. I'm sure you have the capital. You must be worth a lot.
Not as much as you if you walk away from this scot-free.
Oh, now that's true. But $600,000 a year is nothing to shake a stick at.
You know how much I make, then you ought to know how much I'm worth.
I'll find out pretty soon. I just thought you'd save me the time.
Not before we can do this. Margaret Vaughn, you're under arrest for the murders of Arthur Vaughn and Dexter Crawley.
Now, we just want to ask you a few questions.
A few questions? You mean my client was arrested, dragged down here in handcuffs, and all you have is a few questions? Certainly hope you have something more than that, officer. You're looking at a huge lawsuit.
We have enough to get your client lethal injection, or at least put her away for a long time.
Well, what is it?
In due time, Mr. Braxton. First, I need to hear Mrs. Vaughn's version again.
Detective Shaughnessy, I'm not a tape recorder. I'm not going to repeat my story at your whim.
That's fine, because we pretty much already know what happened, and in your case, what didn't happen.
Well, hell, what am I here for?
Look, the DA gave me permission to offer you 2 counts of murder 1. Now, that's 25 years each count. I guarantee you, if you pursue this and go to trial, you will get the death penalty. This was a brutal crime committed against 2 people for financial gain. Now, you sign an admission of guilt, plead guilty, we can avoid going through a lengthy trial, and you can start serving your sentence now.
My client will not be serving...
Wait, Counselor. Now, I know the reason you're suggesting this. Arthur was a prominent figure in this community. The mayor and the governor must be putting major pressure on you to find his killer, and you just picked me now, isn't that right?
Sure. But it was the clear-cut evidence that pointed us in your direction.
Well, I'm not admitting to a damn thing that I didn't do.
Listen, Mrs. Vaughn, we found enormous inconsistencies in your story. First, you claimed you were sitting next to Mr. Vaughn when he was shot. But when we questioned you at the hospital, your gown was not covered in blood, which it would have been if you were sitting next to Mr. Vaughn. You see, Mr. Vaughn was shot through the neck. The bullet completely penetrated the jugular vein, saturating the back seat in blood. We have your wedding dress. We found it in the trash at your home, and it was not covered in blood. And last but not least, your wedding gloves. We found them in the sewer near the crime scene, and they were covered in gunpowder. We have you, Mrs. Vaughn. We have you.
May I have a moment alone with my client?
Sure. Convince your client that the deal's the best way to go.
Margaret, they've got a lot of evidence against you. Given what you've told me, I think you should take the deal.
That'll be all, Counselor.
That'll be all what?
That will be all for today. I'll sleep on it and call you tomorrow.
Okay.
Mrs. Vaughn, come with me, please.
Hello, Detective Hanson. Yeah, this is Daniel Braxton. I worked with you a couple of times when I was with the DA's office. Yeah, just didn't know if you remember me, that's all. Say, listen, I was wondering if you could do me a favor. I've got the license tag number of a guy that's been following me around. I was wondering if you could check it out for me. Yeah, it's OML 121, a blue Chevy Blazer. What in the hell is this? Yeah, I'm here, I'll hold. Hello, records room? Yeah, I have the Vaughn file on the retrieval log, and it says here that I retrieved it a couple of hours ago, but I wasn't here. Is this some sort of mistake? My temp secretary. I don't have a temp secretary. He had an authorization code. Listen, I want you to call security. Give them a description and everything. Yeah, okay. Hey, Detective Hanson. You have a name? Right. Marcellus Pinter. So listen, do you have any information on this guy? If you do, I would appreciate it if you would fax it to me. Yeah, my fax number is 555-8642. Hey, thanks a lot. You've been real helpful. I used to think that Margaret was guilty, but now I'm not so sure. Margaret, I need to ask you a few questions.
Sure, counsel, go ahead. Oh, and thanks for the clothes.
Don't mention it. Margaret, how do you know Marcellus Pinter?
Who?
Don't play dumb with me, Margaret.
Okay, he's a friend.
A friend who follows me around? A friend who owns the Rude Boy Detective Agency? I found your connection, Margaret.
Okay, I hired a detective to follow you and check you out.
And to get a copy of the will? I know you overheard my authorization code the other day.
I see you have connections, too. You knew I wanted to see a copy of the will.
Well, maybe he wanted to see a copy of the will. You see, I have a copy of his record, too. And this guy's got a sheet longer than the Mississippi. Now I know why you wanted the money right away. He's blackmailing you somehow, isn't he?
How could someone blackmail me into killing my husband?
I don't think you killed your husband.
Of course I killed him. I signed the confession this morning.
What? What the hell am I even here for? I quit. I don't care what the partners say.
Wait, counsel.
What?
I didn't need a copy of the will and his wife. I've seen it.
That's it, isn't it? I'm not here for any other reason except to get you out of this mess, aren't I? Well, Margaret, that's it. I mean, I need to know everything in order to get you out of this mess. I can believe that you signed that confession under duress and without effective counsel.
I already know the whole story, Mr. Braxton.
You told them everything?
She didn't have to. I know more about this case than anyone in this room.
Well, when is someone going to tell me?
First of all, I'm Special Agent Shaughnessy of the FBI.
What? What in the hell's the FBI doing here investigating a local murder?
That's murders, plural.
Well, whatever. What's so special about these murders? Was Mr. Vaughn involved in something big? What, organized crime?
Not Mr. Vaughn, Mrs. Vaughn.
Margaret? You're involved in organized crime?
Shall you tell him, Mrs. Vaughn, or shall I?
You seem to be having so much fun, Agent Shaughnessy. No wonder Marcy couldn't find any information on you.
Yes, but he tried. Every time someone tried to access my files, we knew they were in Ricardo's pocket.
Wait a minute, who is Ricardo's?
You don't mean Alberto's Ricardo's. How come I wasn't informed?
You were just an escort. My superiors didn't feel you needed to know that or the depth of our surveillance.
And how deep was your surveillance?
Later for that, Mr. Braxton. First, I need to talk to Mrs. Vaughn.
No, first I need to know who Alberto's Ricardo's is.
Head of the only United Jamaican drug posse in the United States.
And how's this Marcellus Pinter connected to Ricardo's?
Marcy is Ricardo's nephew.
The detective agency is a front for his real work. Apart from his enforcing work, Marcy P. is in charge of this immediate area for Ricardo's. The Rude Boy Detective Agency is an obvious front.
If it's so obvious, why don't you close it down?
They can't. Once the feds start snooping around, they'll close up shop and destroy evidence. Then they have to start all over again. They tried that 3 years ago.
Wait. What does all this have to do with Mr. Vaughn's murder?
Only one person knows that, and she needs to start talking, or else she's going down for a double homicide.
You knew all the time that I was connected to Marcy, and you got me to sign that damn confession.
Because I only suspect the real truth. I don't really know the whole truth.
Oh, I thought you were supposed to know more than anyone else in this room. You're a hell of a grandstander, Shaughnessy.
I do know more than anyone else in this room, but I don't know everything. Now, I want to know what you know, or I meant what I said. That confession is legally binding in every way.
I'll take her to court and file a petition to have that confession barred from the trial.
Yeah, I heard you on the way in here. Ineffective counsel under duress. I don't need her confession. I have enough evidence to get her convicted, and there is no guarantee that you can get her confession barred from trial. Never underestimate the resources of the federal government.
Don't you understand what's at stake? You can't get to Marcy without destroying my life.
It's not Marcy they want. It's Ricardo's.
How are they going to do that?
They know that Marcy killed Mr. Vaughn and Mr. Crawley.
Very intuitive, Mr. Braxton, or did Mrs. Vaughn tell you?
Is that true? I've worked like hell to gather evidence against this woman, and you mean to tell me the feds knew all along that she didn't do it?
I'll make sure you get a citation from the director of the FBI.
The hell with some damn citation. You and the director can kiss me.
Officers, agents, people! Exactly what do you want from my client?
I don't give a damn. Let her go.
Well, thank you, Harrison.
Not so fast, Mrs. Vaughn. You're not free to go.
So what do you want?
We want you to testify against Marcellus Pinter.
You have to find another way.
Margaret, this seems to be the only way out of this mess.
Counselor, I'm not testifying. Plain and simple. Find another way.
Margaret, if you're afraid, I'm sure Agent Shaughnessy can guarantee your protection, right?
It's not me I'm worried about.
You do have family, don't you? What did he threaten your family? What, your mother, your sister?
My son.
Your son. Of course, he'll be protected, too.
He can't be.
Why? What did he kidnap your son?
Yes. Can't you see now why I can't testify against him? My son will die.
No, Shaughnessy, you can't expect her to jeopardize a son's life.
We can guarantee your son's safety, too.
Well, how can you do that? Unless... You know where he is, don't you?
You know where my son is and you didn't tell me?
What exactly could you do from a jail cell, Mrs. Vaughn?
You could have taken him into custody. But you couldn't, could you? Marcy would have no hold on me, and you would have no way of getting to Marcy without me.
Calm down, Mrs. Vaughn. Your son is fine. I have photos.
Where is he?
I'm not allowed to reveal that information, but I can assure you he's fine.
You think I'm stupid, Shaughnessy. My son will never be taken into custody as long as you need me.
I'm sorry you feel that way, Mrs. Vaughn, but it's the truth. Now, we would have taken your son into custody before, but that would have jeopardized our investigation.
That's all you care about, your investigation. You don't give a damn about me or my son.
You're damn right I care about this investigation. The Bureau has been trying to get Ricardos for a long time, and I will do anything to bring him down. And you're not completely innocent in this. You're an accomplice. You knew that Marcy was going to kill your husband, and yet you stood by and let 2 innocent men die. Who's the bad guy now?
Will she get complete immunity? No accomplices to murder or anything?
Sure. I'll get the papers drawn up now.
Of course, you will let me see the paperwork this time before you get my client to sign it.
Yeah, of course.
Mr. Chapman, may I be alone with my client for a moment?
Sure.
Are you ready to answer a couple of questions for me?
Of course, Counselor, ask away.
Why did Pinter kidnap your son and not one of Vaughn's daughters or grandchildren?
They were more liable to involve the police. And I'm personally involved.
Personally? How?
Marcy's my son's father.
Whoa. I gotta sit down.
Marcy and I were involved years ago and it didn't work out. When he found out I was going to marry Arthur, he devised this plot to gain access to the Vaughn millions.
How much does he expect to get?
All of anything that I get.
Of course, you realize that the only sure way that he can get his hands on Vaughn's money is to inherit it.
Inherit it? How's he going to do that?
Through your only heir.
Of course. Our son. If I'm dead. Do you think he'll be able to get to me in protective custody?
Probably not, but
Nothing's absolute.
don't worry, Margaret. I'll stick with you through this whole process.
Thank you, Counselor. Daniel.
Hi, Dr. Donetta Braxton. Hi, sweetheart, it's your favorite husband. Listen, sweetheart, I was wondering if you could do me a favor. I have a bottle of pills here for the drug Euphamil. I was wondering if you could tell me what they're commonly prescribed for. It's concerning a case. Yes, that case. Well, you know I can't tell you that. Just tell me what these pills are for, sweetheart, please. Really? Well, is it possible they could be prescribed for any other condition? Wow. Okay, thanks, sweetheart. You've been real helpful. Look, I got another call coming in. Okay. Talk to you soon. Love you too. Bye. Yes? Yes, send them in. Damn. Detective Chapman, what are you doing here? Something wrong with my client?
Hey, absolutely not. She's free.
Free? As of when?
As of 3 hours ago.
You mean to tell me my client was released from custody 3 hours ago and I wasn't notified?
No, it's not our job to inform you when your client is released. That's her job.
I mean, I realize that, but when a person is placed into protective custody, there's usually a lot of paperwork. And as their attorney, I would have liked to have looked over that paperwork.
Yeah, well, that's all fine, but there's no paperwork.
No paperwork? What do you mean, no paperwork?
Boy, you lawyer types are real smart. No paperwork, ergo no protective custody.
No protective custody? How the hell could you let her go without protective custody? Once word gets out that she'll be testifying against Pinter, she'll be dead within the week.
Oh, calm down, Mr. Braxton. Your client assured Shaughnessy that she would keep in touch with her and that she would turn herself over for protective custody 1 week before trial.
And Shaughnessy bought that?
Hell yeah. Shaughnessy was chomping at the bit to get Mrs. Vaughn's statement so she could pick Pinter up. Once she got it, she charged out of there leading a batch of our officers to pick him up.
She's been on her own for 3 hours already, and she hasn't contacted me. She may be dead already.
Oh, I doubt it. She'll be in contact with you. She still needs you to gain access to Vaughn's money.
No, she doesn't. Jack Jordan is handling the Vaughn estate.
Well, I'd like to put a tap on your phones anyway. I'm sure she'll be in contact with you, and when she does, we'll have her.
I'm sorry, I can't allow you to put any listening devices on my phone, and neither will Mr. Jordan.
Well, what about that camera up there?
That's strictly a camera, no sound. It's for security purposes after I leave. It's never on while I'm here. It only has one on-off switch, and I keep that secluded. Listen, I'll just inform security that if she enters the building, to detain her for you.
She's a very dangerous woman. Who knows what she might do if some simple security person tries to detain her?
What do you mean, dangerous woman?
When Shaughnessy picked Pinter up, I wasn't even allowed in on the interrogation. Luckily, Shaughnessy had to wait at our station for the other feds to show up. So I snuck into the lockup and I asked him a couple of questions myself.
You're telling me all this because?
Because at the time of the murders, Mr. Pinter was receiving a speeding ticket 15 miles out of town. I talked to the ticketing officer myself. Procedure calls to get license and driver's registration. I even showed him Pinter's mugshot so there would be no doubt it was him. She's killed 2 people and she's walking around free. Now we've got this building staked out. If she tries to come back here, we can pick her up immediately and she can call you from the police station.
So how does Shaughnessy feel about you blowing her only connection to Ricardo's?
As far as I know, she doesn't know. And I don't give a damn. She's gone behind my back enough. Now it's my turn. I've talked to my commanding officer, and he's been in contact with the state's attorney. The both of them are backing me up all the way. Mr. Braxton, now do you see why it's important that we tap your phone?
I'm sorry. That's out of the question.
Well, we'll see what your superiors have to say about that.
Margaret, what are you doing here? It's dangerous for you to be on the streets.
I know. But I had some things to do before I left for protective custody. And one of those was to come here and thank you.
Hey, there's no need to thank me. I was just doing my job.
And I appreciate it. You'll never know how much. I just had no one else to turn to.
I understand. I'm just glad I could be there for you. I just wish you could have told me everything from the beginning.
I know. I was afraid. Marcy told me that if I told anyone, including you, the complete truth, that my son would be killed.
Oh, really? He'd kill his own son to get back at you? I found that hard to believe.
Well, believe it.
Why should I?
Because you're my lawyer, I'm your client, and I told you so.
Now, there's the Margaret I know, not the apologetic one.
What's the deal, counselor? First you're comforting, and then you're making accusations.
I just know you're not being totally honest with me.
What do you want to know, Daniel?
First off, can you tell me what these pills are?
Where did you get these?
Housekeeping found them and Ian returned them to me. Now can you answer my question?
They're allergy pills.
Oh, really? My wife told me they were a synthetic form of estrogen. In other words, hormone pills.
Your wife is a doctor, isn't she? A gynecologist, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, you're a regular Huxtable family. Do you have 4 girls and a boy, too?
You're great at avoiding questions, aren't you?
You didn't ask a question. You made an accusation.
Okay. Fair enough. Why are you taking hormone pills?
For personal medical reasons.
Personal medical reasons like a hysterectomy?
Yes. When my son was born, I had major complications and had to be given an emergency hysterectomy.
Gee, you had your son when you were 9?
Let's start this again, counsel. What are you trying to say?
It's over, Margaret. I know.
You have to be more specific than that. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. You don't have power of attorney.
Correct?
Well, when my wife told me that Euphamil was a synthetic hormone commonly prescribed for women with low levels of estrogen, women who had gone through menopause or...
A hysterectomy.
Yes. And since I figured you were too young for menopause, it had to be a hysterectomy, but I didn't know that for sure. So as your power
of attorney, you requested my medical history and found out I'd had a hysterectomy when I was 9.
Correct. And it was at that point that I found out that at age 9, you had to have a hysterectomy, meaning that after that point, you couldn't have given birth to any child. Therefore, your son, the linchpin to your whole scenario about you being blackmailed into covering for Mr. Vaughn's murderer, that falls apart like a house of cards in a hurricane.
Any information you obtained acting as my lawyer is also construed as confidential information.
Of course, I know that.
So how does it feel, counselor? To know what you know about me, about my crime, and not be able to do a damn thing about it?
Oh, I can do something about it. I can go to the police.
And be disbarred? I don't think so. You know, you really ought to thank me. Because of me, a partnership in this law firm has just opened up, and you're next in line.
You'll get no thanks from me, Margaret. You killed 2 men for nothing more than financial gain. Makes me sick to be in the same room with you.
Do you want to know what's sick, counselor? When I was 9 years old, I had to have a hysterectomy because my father was molesting me. And the sickest part was that my mother knew and did nothing about it. So I ran away. I started living on the streets. But I didn't live on the streets for long. You learn. You learn that men will do, say, pay anything to get you into bed. You learn to use that to your advantage. You learn to manipulate. Now the only kind of pleasure I want to experience is material.
Mr. Vaughn would have given you anything you wanted.
And I would have to have given something back in return. It makes me sick to sleep with any man.
If men turn you off so much, why'd you come on to me so strong?
It's all a part of the game, counselor. Just to keep you on your toes.
I know you're not making all this up to get my sympathy.
I don't need your sympathy or your pity. You've done the job that I intended you to do. All I need from you now is some final legal advice on how to get the rest of my money.
Well, you'll have to talk to Jack Jordan. He's handling the Vaughn estate. I was going to represent you until you went into protective custody, but now that you've denied protective custody...
Wait. How do you know that? Have the police been here?
Not so fast, Mrs. Vaughn.
What's going on here, detective?
Margaret Vaughn, you're under arrest for the murders of Arthur Vaughn and Dexter Crawley. You have the right to remain silent.
This is ridiculous, Detective Chaplin. I helped you get the real killer, and I have complete immunity against any sort of prosecution regarding this case.
That immunity was based on false information. The state's attorney found a judge to overturn it and given me permission to rearrest you and deal with the repercussions later.
And there will be repercussions, Detective. Be assured of that. That immunity clause was ironclad. Isn't that correct, counselor?
That's right, but now that the state's attorney has found a judge willing to overturn your immunity, I'm afraid you'll have to fight it.
Don't you mean we?
No. No, I refuse to represent you anymore. I've talked to the partners and they agree with my wishes. And after they hear about this, I doubt if anyone at the firm will represent you.
You set me up. You signaled them somehow and then stalled me until they got here. Your career is over. I'll see you disbarred.
Disbarred? For what? I never betrayed your confidentiality, and I was under no obligation to tell you that the police were looking for you.
That's a load of crap! Oh, you underestimate me, counselor. If you don't think I'll find some way to make you pay for double-crossing me.
Mr. Braxton, you can't believe a word this woman says. She's proven herself to be a liar and a cold-blooded killer. Any further deliberation with her will have to be done at the police station. Here, take her downstairs. I'll be right there. I just want to thank you.
Thank me for what?
For telling security to be on the lookout for her.
I told you I'd do. That's no need to thank me.
Oh, no, not that. Now, she slipped right in here without anybody seeing her. She used to work here, right?
Yeah, but I still don't know how.
Oh, no. See, she could have slipped right back out and we would have never have known. But because you left your camera on, security alerted me that she was in the building.
Well, if my camera was on, I must have turned it on by accident.
Oh, you turned on a camera with a secluded switch by mistake?
Yeah. Yeah, that must be what happened.
I get your drift, Mr. Braxton. Thanks anyway. I just wish that camera had sound. Hi, Shawnee.
Agent Shaughnessy, what are you doing here?
You know I'm here. You double-crossed me, you son of a...
Hey, wait a minute now. I'll hear you out, but I will not sit here and let you scream and curse at me.
I'm just here to let you know how you just screwed up my investigation.
You weren't involved in an investigation. You were involved in a conspiracy. A conspiracy to get Ricardo's, even if it meant sending an innocent man to jail. You got the wrong man, Shaughnessy. It was Chaplin that arrested Mrs. Vaughn, not I.
No, but you had a hand in it. Oh, not betraying your lawyer-client confidentiality, of course, but still helping. I hope you're happy, and she still might not go to jail.
I'm not worried. Is that why you came here today, to try to scare me?
I came here today to let you know that you have made an enemy. I will make sure that this firm gets no more government business, and I will do everything in my power to see that you are disbarred. You will regret the day that you ever interfered in my investigation.
Agent Shaughnessy, you have bigger problems. You see, you're looking for someone to blame for your incompetency, and that person will not be me. Now, if your career survives, maybe the next time you'll build a real case with real evidence instead of taking shortcuts and stepping on anyone you can to advance your career. I took this case because I was ordered to, but I have to admit, I started to get caught up in it. Now that I'm caught up in it, who knows when I'll be able to get out? Who knows what kinds of tricks Margaret and her new lawyer will pull out of their sleeves? The rest of the week, I'll be wrapping up and allocating my cases to other associates. After that, I'll be taking a leave of absence. I've worked hard all these years. I used to tell myself that I was working hard to make things better for myself and my family, but I rarely see them. It's time to change all that. It's time to ask myself all kinds of questions. Do I really want to kill myself to make partner? Do I want to continue in corporate law? Do I really want to return to litigation? Those are just some of the questions I need to answer. But there is one question that I do have the answer to. Will I ever hear from Margaret again after she finishes suing everybody? Oh, without a doubt.